For more, let's bring in retired Supervisory Border Patrol agent and U.S. Army military police veteran Frank Lopez Jr. Thank you so much, sir, for your service. Also with us, former New York State Homeland Security Advisor and Redland Securities Director Michael Balboni. And back with us, our special guest in studio, Rich Valdez, radio host of America at Night. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Frank, I'll start with you first. Is it fair to call what's happening in our country an invasion? The majority of these illegals, they're young, able-bodied men of military age, and we can't afford it on the national security level, and we also fiscally can't afford to take care of these people anymore.
Yeah, within the context of asymmetrical warfare, the methodology is going to be multi-pronged. And so certainly part of what we're seeing here are the type of person coming into our country you spoke of, but it's all part of a larger collaborative effort to undermine, to weaken, to put us in a very vulnerable position. So yeah, this is an invasion. It's not your traditional weaponry, but once they're in our country, it's certainly not going to be difficult for anybody to gain access to weapons, to any other kind of armament and resources that they would need. So this is a very dire situation we're faced in. And that's why I'm running for Congress in this 23rd Congressional District.
Make a difference there. And Rich, Mayor Eric Adams here in New York City, he just announced that the city will now be slashing the NYPD's budget by over $100 million to help offset the more than $12 billion the city will be spending on all of these illegals. The cuts are also not just affecting the NYPD, but education, to name a few. Meanwhile, less than 2% of the illegals that are here in the city have applied for their work visas. So what does that tell you?
Well, Lydia, what's happening here is Mayor Adams is blame shifting, right? He wants to blame Biden and we need more federal dollars, but this is a problem that he helped create. And by creating the problem, this is an invasion by invitation from Joe El Baboso Biden, from Mayor Eric Adams, elite Eric Adams, as I like to call him. These guys are out of control, saying it's a sanctuary city. Lamentably, yeah, we're being invaded, but the door's wide open and Joe Biden's holding that door open along with Alejandro Mayorkas. And how do you tell them to stop coming in if you're telling them and you're flagging them to come on in? It's like the J6 videos all over again, but it's happening at the border. And sadly, this is
except more
killing
violent
people.
at the
More
border.
violent. The UN says that this is the most dangerous crossing on the planet. So how do we sit there in good conscience and allow it to happen? We can't. I think this is why people are getting sick and tired of it, even some Democrats like Eric Adams.
Absolutely. And they are leaving the American taxpayer on the hook to pay for all these people. It's such a grift. Now, Michael, so far this year, 169 individuals from the terror watch list have been apprehended after illegally crossing the border. These are just the people we know about. I mean, obviously, there has to be some potential terrorists right here waiting to strike.
When you do the analysis as to what the threat matrix is when it relates to terrorism, you look at three different aspects of it. You look at what's the motivation of the individual, what's their capabilities, and what's the opportunity. The problem with what we have going on in this country right now is we don't know those things. That's the problem here. The terrorist watch list, it sounds like a great concept, but a watch list only takes care of the folks that have been on prior lists. What's the database that you're working off of? If you truly have people with tradecraft who are going to come over the border, who have the training, and now they're not going to be on any type of watch list, and they're going to disappear. The problem that the security professionals are looking at right now is they don't know who is here among them. And that's not a paranoia. That's rather a reality check.
Absolutely. And Michael, it's going to cost all across the United States $451 billion to take care of all of these illegals. So while people sitting at home and say, oh, thank God I don't live in New York City, I'm worried that we're going to see a migrant tax and that the federal government is going to siphon the funds to take care of the illegals right out of our paychecks.
Nobody's talking to the folks in Texas really on this. It seems to be that they've just let that go. And yet, what has Texas been dealing with for over a decade? What type of expenses have they had? What kind of model? What kind of support have they gotten from Washington, D.C.? Now, New York has certainly put this on the map and said, hey, you can't do this to the Big Apple. And they've made all of these entreaties to the government to come and help them. But what is the motivation to help Texas? Because, frankly, they've been dealing with this for a very, very long time. And we should address this as a nation, not as individual states. And we're not doing that.
And right. And then, Frank, we were talking about the bad actors that are already here because how are they able to even do an efficient background check on people that that they're from another country, right? We don't even know if they're giving their real name. And I saw this story that a 31-year-old Brazilian man, he'd been living on Martha's Vineyard undocumented for an unknown amount of time, that just a few years ago he was sentenced behind bars for molesting, raping a 5-year-old child. And he's living it up here in the United States on the taxpayer dime. So that's another issue that we have. We have criminals that are living among us.
Yeah, how can you measure the intent of the hearts and the minds of people? Look, the Islamic terrorist threat has been in this hemisphere for a long time, down in South America, the tri-border region. Hamas and Hezbollah and other groups have been down there. And part of what they do is they assimilate. They marry into the local populace, into the culture. They assimilate and they indoctrinate. And they radicalize. And so this is a golden opportunity for those people to make their way up north after decades of being prepared for this. They have a long patience. That's why I'm running for Congress against our incumbent, Tony Gonzalez. They can go to usborderpatriot.com to get more information about what I'm doing. But the threat is real, and Americans need to wake up. These people are here. They've been preparing, and this is a golden opportunity for them to come into our country. And the other thing about this Casa, Texas, I've been speaking with county commissioners and county judges who are afraid they're not even going to be able to meet the payroll, because anytime these illegal aliens call 911, we have to send law enforcement and military medical resources over there, and it's costing the county taxpayers directly. And there's people out here that are worried about meeting the payroll. That is ridiculous, and it needs to stop.
And Rich Valdez, in Texas, Governor Abbott, he's going to sign it into law that people will actually be able to arrest illegal aliens. And then you've got like these organizations and the fake news media saying that it's racist. So now it's racist to arrest someone who has committed a crime? I mean, have we lost our minds?
We've definitely lost our minds when it comes to the border. Biden's allowing this massive human smuggling operation to occur, which should never occur. But I think Abbott's going to face a little bit of an uphill battle because this is a constitutional authority. It's the federal government's job to police the border, and as much as he's going to try, he runs into this a lot with DPS. They can do what they can at the state level. They may not be able to do it at the federal level, but I wish him the best of luck because we need it.
We do need it. All right. Thank you so much, Frank Lopez, Michael Balboni, and Rich Valdez. You'll be back with us.